Hi, my name is Patty. I'm Susan's sister. Susan and I were about 20 months apart, but Susan, being the older sister, she had a great deal of influence on me. I remember one of my first memories of Susan and I in our backyard in Downey. We had a beautiful orange tree that we would ride our tricycles around for hours and hours. One day we decided, or Susan decided, we should stick baby oranges up our nose. Well, Susan didn't put them up her nose. She wanted me to put them up my nose to see what kind of response we could get from my mother. So I put the baby oranges up my nose and we went inside and I blew my nose and some of the baby oranges came out. Mom freaked out, but Susan and I freaked out in the end because I couldn't get the other baby oranges out of my nose. They eventually came out, so everything was okay. Susan and I were playmates, and it was wonderful having a sister that was always there to play with. We played with baby dolls. We graduated to Barbie and Ken's. We rode tricycles and we graduated to bicycles. And we used to love to roller skate, and we would do that by the hour too.
Hi, I'm Carolyn, and I am Susan's little sister. One of my very favorite childhood memories of my dear sister Susan is her making me angel tea on those nights when I couldn't sleep. She would carry me down the hallway to the kitchen, place me on the kitchen counter so I could watch her as she poured milk into the pan, stirred in the sugar, and talked reassuringly to me as the mixture warmed up. And it must have worked because I don't remember going back to bed. I just remember my sister making angel tea for me.
In high school, Susan and I loved clothes, and we always wanted to make sure that we never wore the same outfit 2 days in a row. In fact, we wanted to go 2 weeks in a row without wearing the same outfit. We would keep a diary, each of us, of what we would wear, but we had to share sweaters, so we had every color of the rainbow of sweaters, but I always wanted to wear the red, and Sue would always want the pink, and we would have some feuds about who got to wear which sweater to school that day. We always worked it out, but we always loved our clothes.
Hi, my name is Randy. I'm Susan's only brother, and I'm here to talk about what she meant to me and how she was a big influence on my life. So starting off early on, she made sure I was in touch with my feminine side as her only brother and put me in a tutu and photos to prove it. Susan was a big support for my mother and helped me understand the importance of family, and she always guided my sisters and myself when it came time to dress up for Easter. One of the most important things that Susan did was to introduce my wonderful wife Yvonne to the family and let everybody know what a wonderful woman she would be for me. We've been married 41 years. Susan was a wonderful mother in her own right, as evidenced by her 3 sons, which are great grown men now, and she's a role model for Yvonne and I, and us bringing up our own family with a son and a daughter of our own. Susan was a great older sister, and I have 2 other fabulous sisters, but Susan led the way and helped me understand the importance of these wonderful women in my life. Towards the end of Susan's life, she struggled with dementia, but she was always nice to people, and it was fun when she recognized me and called me by name. But I'll never forget how kind she was to everybody, and I try and keep that lesson in my life every day. So Susan, thank you for being my older sister and being such a leader. I miss you, but you are always with me, and the lessons you've taught me will stick, and I cherish those memories. So love from your brother.
My name is Danielle Dietrich Kilpatrick, and I went through elementary, junior high, and high school with Sue. We were lifelong friends since that day in 2nd grade when we boarded the bus for Camp Mitaka, the only 2 in our Bluebird group whose parents allowed us to go to camp at that young age. We camped together through elementary school, including the year a fire started in the mountains, and we were evacuated to the San Bernardino prison, where we huddled together and bonded. We continued our friendship through junior high and high school, and with our dear Exquisites Y Club, where we continued summer camping at the YMCA Camp Mazumdar. We both married our high school sweethearts and kept in touch as we went to college, moved to different cities, raised our boys, had grandchildren, and traveled. I stopped hosting reunions of our longtime friends after Sue fell. I kept waiting for her to get better. I just couldn't imagine a gathering without her. She had everyone's current addresses, knew what they were doing, all about their families. She cared. She was the glue that kept everyone together. How could you not love Sue? She greeted everyone with a smile that would brighten your day. She was liked by everyone. She was thoughtful, sincere, compassionate, sentimental, loyal, creative, and fun. I will miss her laughter and enthusiasm for life. But her legacy will long be remembered through her sweetheart, Gene, whose heartbreaking journey caring for his adorable life partner has been a shining example of love and devotion. Her legacy also lives on with her wonderful sons, their wives, her grandchildren, and the multitude of friends who each hold Sue in their hearts. What a grand welcome she must have received when she came through those pearly gates earlier this year, when God called her home. Her family and friends who preceded her must have rejoiced, cheering, "Yay, Sue's here!" Sweet, sweet Sue. Love you.
I'm Sue James Glowacki. I first met Sue in our sophomore year at Downey High, and by our junior year, we became best friends. I have so many great memories of Sue and our friendship. First time I ever drove on the freeway was with Sue in my dad's 65 Volkswagen. I wasn't supposed to drive on the freeway, but we decided it would be faster to come home that way from Huntington Beach one day during the summer, and we did it, and I didn't get in too much trouble. Post-graduation, our parents allowed us to drive 500 miles north of Downey to my great aunt's place in Clear Lake, California, which used to be a beautiful vacation spot. So I needed to take on the whole responsibility of driving the 500 miles in the Volkswagen because I failed miserably at teaching Sue to drive a stick shift in the parking lot at Downey High. With that, our parents decided it would be safest for us to stop halfway. So my dad made reservations at a travel lodge. This was in July of 1969. We were 17. And he told the manager of the travel lodge we would be there and please to watch over us, which in these days probably wouldn't happen again, but in those days it felt safer. So on July 20th, 1969, Sue and I sat on the edge of the bed in the travel lodge and watched Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon. It was pretty exciting for us. My last visit with Sue was in June of 2019 in the memory care facility. We took her a big bag of Reese's Pieces, which made her face light up. Jean told us that was her favorite. Took a few pictures from high school. And as I pointed out people in the pictures, she only recognized my high school boyfriend, which kind of made us laugh, but it was a good laugh. And I'm going to miss you so much, Sue, and I love you so much, and I have wonderful memories. Thank you for those.
Hi, this is Lynn Lucas, older sister to Jean and John, and sister-in-law to Sue and Sharon. For this very sad occasion, where Sue's wonderful life was cut short, I want to thank her so much for being such an inclusive person over my lifetime. Included in the Ricketts Family Adventures and Swimming Pool in Downey, and including me as bridesmaid in her wedding. And when the boys were born, I drove so often to Santa Barbara to celebrate my birthday, Halloween, other events of our lives, and she just always included me as part of her family since I didn't have one of my own. Happy person, loved by many, and I just want to say that I can't thank her enough for being so wonderful to me and to our parents over the years. So thank you again, Sue, for being such a wonderful part of my life.
Hi, I'm John Lucas, Sue's brother-in-law, Jean's brother. I got to know Sue when I was pretty young. I was a teenager, and when Jean started dating her when they were in high school. And once in a while, I got to go on a date with them. Now, I'm not sure if that's because my mother paid Jean off to take me off her hands for a while. But no matter, I always enjoyed going out on a little date with them, playing the jukebox at a pizza parlor and whatever, just hanging out and talking. I got to know Sue better when I became a freshman at UC Santa Barbara, and she and Jean were living in off-campus housing there, and once in a while they'd have me over for dinner or just to hang out with them, listen to music, sit around in beanbag chairs, and do what UCSB kids did back then. Sue was always a blast to be around. I always enjoyed being with her. Sometimes I got invited over to her parents' house in Downey, and where I got to meet the rest of the Ricketts family and splash around in their pool, and always an enjoyable time. And I really had a good time getting to know all the Ricketts gang. But then Jean and Sue decided to ditch me and move back to Boston, under the pretense that Jean had been accepted into some lesser college out there. So I had to go out and visit him once, and just to make sure that it was true and that he was actually going to college there, and apparently it was true. But after a few years, he came to his senses, and they both moved back to California. There we got together off and on over the years to celebrate holidays, family gatherings, and things of that nature. Sue always met me with big hugs and open arms and kind words. And yeah, you know, I will always miss her and her wonderful smile.
Hi, I'm Tony Schaefer. My husband Steve and I met Sue and Jean back in September of 1972. We were living in married student housing at the time, and they moved in next door to us, and we really hit the jackpot when it comes to getting neighbors. They graduated a year after in 73 and moved on to Boston, and we went and visited them in the summer of 74. They ended up back in Santa Barbara. We ended up living in Davis, but we began a long tradition of family visits. They, as you know, have the 3 boys. We have 2 boys, and they all meshed really well. Whenever we would visit them in Santa Barbara, the boys would climb their tree in the front yard. My son's first memory of them is the boys being upstairs and listening to us 4 grown-ups laughing hysterically downstairs. And that really does sum up our relationship with Susan. We just laughed a lot. We always were having a good time. One of our favorite memories was going to what we called Hazel's Cabin, which was a rented cabin up in the north shore of Lake Tahoe, and they would come up and meet us to go skiing in the winter, and sometimes we'd hit the beach in the summer. One of the great stories that happened up there was the boys were coming downstairs from upstairs, and they were carpeted stairs. They would take their sleeping bags and sit on them and go tearing down the stairs as fast as they could. And of course, we had to have one little tragedy where Ryan's head went through the wall. And we always kind of look at the wall as we fixed it, but that was where Ryan's head went through the wall. Another favorite memory with Susan is we loved getting their Christmas newsletters. And I know most people's Christmas newsletters are kind of either boring or they're, you know, we're so wonderful, we're so great. And Sue kept her letter it was so reasonable. It had good and bad, but it always had humor. Whenever my kids would come home for the holidays, they weren't real interested in looking at most of our Christmas cards, but they always asked to look at the Lucas card and to read it because it was just real. Sue kept it real. In more recent years, we started traveling with them. We took a walking tour to Italy in 2004. And then once we were all fully retired, we went to Africa on safari with them in 2014. And, you know, we certainly assumed at that time that we had many, many more trips yet to come with them. So it's you know, I think of Sue so fondly. She always had a smile. She always gave you a hug. And I will miss her so much. We've missed her already for the last several years. She truly, truly loved her family and her friends.
Hi, my name is Yvonne. I'm married to Randy. That makes Susan my sister-in-law. Susan, who I remember with such loving, wonderful memories. I'd like to share just a few with you. Susan was the very first person who introduced me to Randy's family, other than Randy. She was the first person I met, and she paved the way. She let everyone know after she met me that I was okay. This was really important to me, and one of the things I loved about Susan is her warm, welcoming, accepting manner in which she allowed me to be me. Susan is someone who modeled for me what a loving mother looked like, what a loving wife looked like. She always put her family first, and having raised 3 boys, and I raised a boy myself, I looked up to her and saw many of the attributes that I wanted in my own family. She was a planner, and something that I always remember is that Susan had great abilities to plan parties. Like the March birthday parties, we have many memories of wonderful March birthday parties and other events that Susan planned. And I have many recipes from her and many good ideas on how to throw a great birthday party or any event. She was really great at that. She was so creative. I'll never forget the E.T. costume she made for, I think, Ryan. It was really a sight to behold. Wow, it was really something when we saw that costume. Susan's so creative, which, as we all know, she was the family photographer, which is why it's hard to find pictures with Susan because she was always taking the pictures. And I loved all the cards she then would make with her photos, and then, of course, all the scrapbooks and photo albums that she always put together. She was certainly creative. One of my fondest memories of Susan is that she loved being with family and celebrating. And so there's a picture of her and I really being happy with a Democratic win back in the day. And she just enjoyed being with family. And we will miss her kindness and her sweetness and just her ability to laugh and have a great time with people she loved. Cheers, Susan. We love you.
Mike Smith, Susan's brother-in-law and constant harasser. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of Susan is her sweet, gentle, and giving nature. This was wonderfully demonstrated the very first time I met Susan and Jean. On Easter Sunday in 1987, Carolyn and I had done a hearty hike to the top of Broadcast Peak overlooking Goleta. Susan and Jean were so kind to invite me, a complete stranger, to shower at their house and join the family for Easter dinner. She immediately made me feel welcome, as if I was already part of the family. It meant a great deal to me. Less than 2 months later, Carolyn and I became engaged. Returning to Casa Lucas to announce our engagement, I learned about another one of Susan's habits. Always keep a chilled bottle of champagne in the refrigerator, just in case there's a reason to celebrate. Within moments of our announcement, a cork was popped, and we were all toasting to happy years ahead. I realized what a special family I was joining. Warm, loving, and ready to party at the drop of a hat. Well, the months turned into years and years into decades, but one thing that stayed constant was Susan's kindness and sweet smile. Whether at the annual Thanksgiving bash in Long Beach, on camping trips, or at other gatherings, there was Susan, always with the big hug and a smile to match, radiating the joy that she clearly felt by being together with family. These are my fondest memories of her.
My name is Linda Hicks. I met Sue in 1980 when our 2 oldest children began preschool at the Goleta Valley Nursery School. We had the distinction of being the 2 mothers whose children cried the loudest and the longest when we attempted to leave. Mrs. Knudsen, who was very wise, told us our best action would be to say goodbye to them and then not linger. So Sue and I would go linger in the parking lot while watching over Ryan in the tan van. From there, It led to birthday parties, play dates, family dinners together, getting to know each other more and more every year. And in 1982, Sue and I both gave birth to sons, her Shannon and my Adam. Those two boys were constant buddies in their early years. They were either at one house or the other, dreaming up adventures and then acting them out. But my friendship with Sue was more than just about our children. We found that we could sit and talk and bare our souls to each other without any fear of judgment. She was an extraordinarily good listener, very empathetic and supportive. She had an aura of innocence about her. She viewed the world through eyes that expected to see the best in everyone, and generally people gave her their best. I never in all our years together heard her descend into gossip or bad-mouthing anyone. I remember how much I would chuckle inside every time Sue used the expression guy, which was a holdover from the 1960s. Examples would be like, "Guy, that was so funny," or "Guy, that must have been hard to do." I also remember the moment that I learned that she and Jean were using their middle names instead of their first names. We had just left an event for the Goleta Valley Junior Women's Club that's now defunct. But we were walking to our cars with our husbands, and somehow it came up that their first names were Glenn and Mary. And I stood there looking at them and said, "Yeah, and I expect your sons' names are Larry, Moe, and Curly Joe." Sue and I both liked to keep track of our photos. In fact, she was tenacious about maintaining up-to-the-date photo albums for each of her sons. Later, that led to us discovering scrapbooking, and we both made scrapbook baby books for our grandchildren. I cherish my memories of my friendship with Sue. There's a hole in my heart every time I acknowledge that we will no longer share birthday lunches or craft shopping or just catching up on our offspring and their children. But there's a sense of joy in knowing that I had Susan for a friend.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Dalkey, a friend of Susan's. I miss Susan. I especially miss Susan every Tuesday afternoon at 2:30, which is when we would walk around Lake Los Caneros together. We had known each other for many years, from Kellogg School and PTA, from Little League. Then one day shortly after 9/11, we bumped into each other in the grocery store and decided to start walking. After that, it was pretty much every Tuesday afternoon for almost 15 years. Susan would answer the door, dressed in a cheery pastel, always with her matching crew socks. The time would fly by while we walked and compared notes on our families and their families. A particularly wise thing I remember her having said was, and I quote, "Now that my children are grown, I try not to give them advice unless they ask for it." End quote. Easier said than done, right? But I'm sure Susan was much better at it than I. She was always so very proud and supportive of all the members of her family. She had the warmest smile and the biggest heart. After I had had major surgery, she would come over to the house and wash my hair for me until I could get back under the shower. And at one point she delivered warm meals to my ailing in-laws so that my husband and I could take a quick trip out of town, get a break from caring for them. She was always very generous and thoughtful, a wonderful friend. So I miss Susan. But now there's Susan's bench, overlooking Lake Los Caneros. It's the perfect spot to sit, reflect, and remember a true friend, which Susan was to so many of us here today.
My name is Roy Donkin. I was blessed to have 3 very different relationships with Sue, and each allowed me to see her in a different way. First, I knew her as a coworker. Sue was the very part-time secretary when I began as pastor at Cambridge Drive Church in Goleta. Cambridge Drive is a small congregation, so the inward work, newsletters, reports, etc., were not as demanding as they would be in a larger church. At the same time, the congregation had always seen as a priority using their property as an opportunity for service in the broader community. That meant there were lots and lots of people who used our property. Recitals, concerts, voting, parties, gatherings, 12-step meetings, a variety of different kinds of classes. And Sue was the interface with all of those folk. When a mom was frantic trying to find a place for a birthday party for her 7-year-old, or a person who had been sober just for one day was looking for a place where there was a meeting, Sue was the person to whom they spoke. She was the interface. She was caring, compassionate, and welcoming to all of them. If a church is supposed to be a representation of Jesus in its community, Sue was the face of this church, and she was amazing at it. As I said, she was very part-time, so she wasn't always in the office. And there were lots of times when someone would call hoping to schedule something and get me in the office instead of Sue. I would tell them, "Oh, I can help you." More often than not, they said, "Oh, that's okay. Have Sue call me when she's in," or, "When will Sue be in? I'll try and call her back." When she was unable to return to work after her accident, many of those folk in the community were distraught. Some of them had never seen her face to face. And yet when they called and looked for her and I told them that she had had an accident and was unable to come back to work, their caring and their concern were palpable. Sue was the outward face of Cambridge Drive Church, a church that had played a part in all of those people's lives, even if not the traditional one as a church member. My second relationship with her really grew out of that first one, and that was to become Sue's friend. It was easy with Sue. We began each of her days in the office, sitting in the office and talking. Of course, it began by talking about church business, what was needing to be done, what was happening this week at the church, who needed special care or special concern. But quickly, that talk would turn to discussion of our families, laughter and tears, the joys of planning a trip with Jean or what they had done the night before, pride in her grandchildren, and of course, I shared those same kinds of things with her. Little things and bigger things that friends talk about. But the one piece that sticks out for me that I will always carry with me about Sue and always loved in her was her ability to find joy in life. She told me that she always kept a bottle of sparkling wine in the refrigerator just in case there was something that needed celebration. At a moment's notice, she would be ready. My third relationship with Sue was as her pastor. And as her pastor, I saw her strengths and her weaknesses, her triumph and her brokenness. And I was privileged that she trusted me to share those things with me. I love Sue. I carry her in my heart, and the mark that she has made will always be there. I am blessed that she was part of my life. I hope that from her I learned how to be more caring and compassionate, but more than that, how to always be ready to find something to celebrate, even at a moment's notice. This evening, my spouse and I will celebrate Sue again. We did it the day of her death, but we'll do it again tonight. We'll open a bottle of sparkling wine. We'll listen to some Beatles songs. And we'll celebrate all that Sue has brought into our lives.
My sister Susan loved to shop, and she was really, really good at it. And it wasn't always about finding something for herself. She always loved it when she found something that she thought would be perfect for someone else. In 2006, Susan, Patty, and I joined our mother on a trip to Arkansas, Mom's childhood home. We stopped briefly at the one and only clothing store besides Walmart, in Little Monticello to blow some time before a church service that was going to be held in honor of our Southern family. Patty and I, we beelined it to the restroom because we didn't know how long this church service was going to take. We came out and there was Susan going through the clothing racks, and I think our exchange went something like, "What's Susan doing?" "She's shopping." "What could she be looking for?" "Well, it could be anything. It's Susan." Well, by this time, Mom was ready to go. "Where's Susan?" "Mom, she's trying on clothes." "What? We need to go." So after some frantic prodding of Susan in the dressing room, got her out, and of course she had some purchases to make. We got to the car, rushed to the church, and arrived just as the service was supposed to begin. But by that time, our dear sister had realized she needed to use the restroom. So here we are in a church we don't know, and we're frantically looking for a restroom for our sister. We were successful, got seated in our pews, and the service began. Afterwards, our Southern relatives were kind of curious about all the commotion before the service began, and they were in absolute awe of Susan's shopping prowess, being able to find something to buy in Little Monticello, as only Susan could.
I am Brian.
And I'm Jennifer Reedforth.
And we are the children of Susan's sister Patty. Our Aunt Susan was a very special and formative figure in our growing up in the extended family. Compared to Randy's family in Salinas and Carolyn's family in Tahoe, the Lucases were always the closest geographically and the closest to our age with the cousins. And that meant to us, family get-togethers were always a very special time with lots of laughter and fun memories.
I always loved hearing stories of my mom that she would tell of her and Auntie Sue growing up. And it was so difficult for me to imagine two of them getting in hairbrush fights and arguing over clothes as teenagers. But I understand that their bond was very special and very deep, and how much my mom looked up to Sue. She was a role model and a protector, and as the oldest of the Ricketts kids, she leaves a legacy that is filled with love for her family and friends. Some of my fondest memories of Auntie Sue remain afternoons on Alamitos Bay in Long Beach, playing with my cousins while she and the adults indulged in hors d'oeuvres and happy hour. She was the default historian of her siblings, and her volumes of photo albums can no doubt piece together almost all of our childhood. I remember impatiently waiting for my mom to finish her Sunday calls with Auntie Sue to hear if she and the boys would be at our next planned event, be it Disneyland or New Year's Eve at our house in San Diego or Long Beach. Because the second I knew that they were coming, my excitement would peak, knowing how much more fun that event would be with the Lucas clan in the mix.
Auntie Sue really did take care of us all like her own. From the invites I received to SeaWorld to riding along in the caravan with my cousins, I always felt part of a greater extended family where I was truly loved and taken care of. I'll always remember whenever I moved to a new apartment, the first piece of mail I would receive was a card from my Aunt Susan congratulating me on my new place. I'll truly never forget the overwhelming love and support I felt when our father Stephen passed away, and how eventually she and the Lucas family adopted our dog Bo and took care of him greatly and always gave me updates, knowing how much I'd always missed him.
Our cousin Lainey summed up Aunt Susan's hospitality by describing how whether she was entertaining her while she visited the Lucas cousins and was sorely outnumbered as the only girl, helping her feel at home while she toured through UCSB while there for a summer program. Sue was always there for her and made her and the rest of us cousins feel loved and welcomed. And as a music lover, Lainey and the rest of us loved Susan's love for the Beatles and her Beatles room. Lainey and we all hope to love others and to find time for music in our lives and the love that Susan had in her memory. One thing that I'll continue to hold with me about Aunt Susan was her pride and her love for her boys, Jean, Shannon, Ryan, and Kelly. She was a wonderful mother and an adoring wife. She naturally, of course, loved all of her sons, partners, and their children as her own. We know her boys will continue to carry her spirit forward, and when we miss Auntie Sue, we'll see those glimpses of her through those boys. We'll miss you, Auntie Sue.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly and I'm the oldest of Sue's three boys, and I'd like to share some memories of my mom. My mom had a love of music and dancing. When I still lived at home, I remember her blaring music while she'd be washing the dishes, and I admired my mom finding joy in the daily routines. She let my brothers and I have a lot of freedom as boys. We'd make dinosaur worlds with the garden hose flowing as a river, build G.I. Joe bases inside and out of the house. She'd let us go explore with friends on our bikes. She even let us set up the Lukai Grill, which was an in-house restaurant. And being a father now and seeing how expensive food is, I can see what a cost this was to my parents. My mom would film our gruesome movies that we would make as boys. She gave us a lot of independence and encouraged creativity while still providing a loving household to come back to. My mom also loved taking pictures of family, which she's passed on to me. But I hated it as a kid, and there are several pictures of me less than happy with the photo opportunity. When I was a grown man and working at Fire Station 4 in Irvine, my parents came to visit me. We got dispatched to a traffic collision or car accident. And as I was treating a patient, I looked over and there was my mom who had chased down the fire engine and ambulance and was taking pictures like the paparazzi. Now, going back to my dad's house, I enjoy going through those old albums and looking at those pictures and reliving those memories. I butted heads with my mom in my adolescence, and I think that's because our personalities were similar. I learned that I'm a lot like my grandfather, my mom's dad. And a lot of becoming a firefighter paramedic is because of my mom's DNA. She was always interested in human anatomy and physiology and the stories I would tell that would make my dad a little squeamish, but interested my mom. My mom had a little bit of thrill seeking, which she passed on to me as well. My mom had a love of the ocean and the beach. I live close to the beach now and enjoy the renewing power and healing of the ocean. She's also passed on that love of the beach to her grandchildren. Now, this is a difficult subject, but my mom's struggles with alcohol aided in my own recovery. Her accidents and falls were driving force in helping me to get sober and stay sober, and I thank my mom for that. My mom's empathy for people and connection to people has been a strong example as I work to become a psychotherapist. My mom had a great love of God and devotion to the church and its people. She really loved the people in her church and working there. And now I have the comfort of knowing that she's in a new body with Christ up in heaven. The Beatles were one of her favorite bands, and as they sang, blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. I miss you, Mom, but I have the comfort that you are watching over all of us with new wings.
I'm Ryan. I'm Susan's middle son. I grew up with a very loving, supportive, and kind mother. I'm very thankful for that. Mom was always there for me, shuttling me around from a myriad of extracurricular activities, from tap dancing to soccer, water polo, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. She was a host, for parties, whether it was our birthday parties growing up, cast parties in junior high school, or hosting my water polo team for breakfast on game day with 12 to 15 hungry teenage boys that spend 5 hours a day in the pool and need 10,000 calories for breakfast. She was there when I was sick. As a, one of the connections I have with my mom, unfortunately, is we both have asthma. So she was very supportive in that. As a pretty young child, starting about 2, she would take me down to the clinic to get antihistamine shots twice a week, and at least for some of that time she was getting the shots as well. She put me in Camp Wheeze, which is a day camp in Santa Barbara for kids with asthma. I have great memories of going to Camp Wheeze and learning about the human body and the respiratory system, as well as getting outside and being in nature a little bit. My 6th grade science camp chaperone, being a trooper on family camping trips. So a lot of my love for the great outdoors comes from time that I spent with my mom, whether it be in Cub Scouts or camping as a family or just traveling in general. My mom had some battles with depression, and one of the things that benefited me coming out of that is that when I started to have my own battles with depression, it was easier for me to seek help. And having a mom that was in the midst of her own battle with depression made it easier for me to try psychotherapy and medication in order to pull out of my own battles. Mom was super supportive when I moved back home from Berkeley and pursued my college degree at UCSB. And as I grew and got more degrees, and I'm very thankful that Mom was able to meet my lovely wife Elisa and my beautiful son Ezra. And I'm sorry that she's not here to watch Ezra continue to grow and develop a deeper connection with my wife, but I'm thankful for the time that they had. Thanks, Mom. I love you, and I will try my best to choose kindness every day.
Hello, I'm Shannon Lucas, Susan's youngest son, and what could safely be termed the mama's boy of the family. What sensitivity and creativity exist in me, I owe largely to my mother's influence and encouragement. Also, like and because of her, I enjoy the value of a well-turned phrase. I'm not quite as bothered by intentional misspellings on signs and in advertisements as she was, but I'll forever think of her when I see, for instance, cool spelled with a K, or a Z used to make something plural. She hated that. It's really about as angry as I saw her get when she saw wanton abuse of the English language, or, in occasional instances of road rage, when she would issue forth such salty epithets as, "You idiot stick." Accepting that curse, if you could even call it a curse, I can probably count on one hand the number of times I heard my mother swear, and still have enough fingers free to pick up a fork. Her inherent kindness seemed to preempt any real vitriol in that regard. She once told me that she and I were alike, and that we both wore our hearts on our sleeve. At the time, I was in my early 20s, so at the peak of male pride and self-importance, and I resisted her characterization. She, of course, was right, though. I do, and she did. And what I took at the time as merely an acknowledgement of a shared personality quirk, I can see more clearly now as a declaration of strength. She was proud of me for being like her in that way. Wearing one's heart on one's sleeve is a gambit. I mean, your heart's just out there. It will not go unscathed. But vulnerability, especially towards those we love and trust, is not weakness. It is strength. It is grace. I'm only beginning to fully understand this now, too late after my mother's passing, but I'm heartened and reassured by her example of tenderness and earnestness, that it can live on in all of us, continuing to gently guide and inspire. In fact, I'd say if you ever find yourself struggling to feel compassion or demonstrate patience in the moment, my mother's memory can help. Picture in your mind's eye her winning smile and feel the warmth that it imbued. Take a breath and think of Mom. That's my new version of keep calm and carry on. Take a breath and think of Sue. You're welcome to it also. It's helped me shake my fist at fewer and fewer idiot sticks. I'll close by quoting my mom's second favorite bearded counterculture icon behind George Harrison, "See feelingly," by which I presume Shakespeare meant experience the world with your heart as well as your mind. There's more to life than the nuts and bolts. There's the sensation of experience. There's the joy of real connection. See feelingly as my mother did, and you will see further and wider. You will feel more keenly, and you will connect more readily and honestly. I intend to honor my mother's memory by continuing my attempts to follow her example, making a conscious effort to grow my capacities for compassion and empathy. I will always aspire to the generosity of spirit that she embodied. I will strive, as I think she would have wanted, not to be a total idiot stick. I love you, Mom.